happens when the daughter of a certified horror movie legend decides to embrace her father's legacy by combining zombies with her experience as a DJ in gay clubs in New York City? You get a fresh horror comedy that is part gore, part glitter, and 100% a raging good time. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emily or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of Queens of the Dead. Thank you so much for checking out my video. I am a team of one, writing, producing, and editing all of my own content, all about movies at Movie Mija, wherever you can find me, without the use of any AI. So it means the world to me that you are supporting a small creator like myself. And I'm really excited to talk about this film today, but first let's set the scene. What's your favorite zombie movie? If you have one, you should know the name George A. Romero. The late great George A. Romero forever changed the game with his 1968 iconic film Night of the Living Dead. At the time of its release, zombies were not part of the cultural zeitgeist like they are today, and this film is credited with inventing the modern day brain-eating zombie. Ironically though, Romero would admit that this was unintentional, likening the undead in his film to be more of an iteration of the infected in Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend than the traditional voodoo-based zombies. Regardless, it's George A. Romero's slow-walking, flesh-eating zombies that became the definitive guide to the undead, establishing a canon of rules that every zombie story since can either embrace or depart from. But no matter how it happened, the Romero name is undeniably inseparable from his zombie legacy. And no one knows that more than his daughter, DJ and filmmaker Tina Romero. Although Tina Romero wholly embraces her father's canon in her film, carrying the torch of the traditional slow-walking zombie and earning approving cameos from heavy hitters like longtime collaborator Tom Savini, I'd argue that the zombies in her film are the least interesting part. Now that we've covered the important legacy of the Romero name, let's get into the film at hand, Queens of the Dead. Drag queens and club kids battle zombies craving brains during a zombie outbreak at their drag show in Brooklyn, putting personal conflicts aside to utilize their distinct abilities against the undead threat. The film is directed by Tina Romero and it stars Katy O'Brien, Jaquel Spivey, Nina West, Tomás Matos, Margaret Cho, Jack Haven, Cheyenne Jackson, and Riki Lindhome. Within this large cast, we have a few main characters, one being Dre, played by Katy O'Brien. She is a stressed out party organizer, and her lead performer has just dropped out of their big show. The dancers back at the club are fighting, and nothing is going right as she's preparing for this big night. Katy O'Brien is so charming. Even as everyone is testing her patience, she has a lightness about her that just makes her so immediately likable. Other key players in the nightclub scene are Kelsey, played by Jack Haven, who is completely hilarious and ditzy. You have Scrumptious, played by Tomás Matos, who is an absolute scene stealer. And you have drag queen Nina West playing Ginzy Tonic, an iconic performance, so layered and lovely and radical in the context of a world that is looking to demonize drag performers at every turn. The other set we spend a lot of time in is a hospital where Dre's wife, Lizzie, works, as played by Riki Lindhome. She is a nurse alongside our other main character, Sam. Sam is portrayed by Jaquel Spivey, and Sam is a former drag performer who has lost her sparkle and has some history with Dre. Sam is looking to confront their past and sees an opportunity to mend some bridges and be a hero to replace the star performer that dropped out of Dre's show. And Spivey has so many wonderful moments in this film. He is so good as an emotional anchor and the character whose personal journey of acceptance that really guides the film. I love when a story has characters that feel lived in, and Spivey plays Sam with a tenderness that feels hard-earned from past obstacles he's had to overcome. This is a large cast of almost all queer characters, and because just about every letter of the LGBTQIA+ rainbow is represented, each character feels that much more grounded and real. I think this is the result of no one person having to be the token gay character, so there's a lot more freedom in their portrayal of these characters. There is a universality in the specific, so the wide array of representation actually helps the characters feel more relatable. They're more human and well-rounded than most films, which creates a wonderful bridge for audience connection. The film is co-written by Tina Romero and comedian Aaron Judge, and it feels like the characters are so layered and complex. They earn these really emotional, weighty moments in a film that is filled with glitter zombies. We haven't even talked about the look of these zombies just yet. But what I found so compelling about this film is a zombie movie that isn't exactly scary or too over-the-top violent. It is a movie that is underscored by this thread of joy and silliness and love. Again, the zombies are the least interesting part of the film, as interesting as they are in their glamorized, like gore meets glitter aesthetic, and they are effectively used as this vehicle for metaphor and social commentary. But it's really the characters that make this such a memorable movie-going experience. Like I mentioned before, Tina's zombies follow the canon of her father and feel in line thematically with his legacy. I feel like her zombies in Queens of the Dead are a sensible evolution of the genre, with zombies that are also like still using their phones even after they've turned, commenting on our phone addiction and how capitalism is not only killing the dance scene, but the queer scene as well. And what's really happening here with how tender these moments in this film feel, I think, is a reflection on how there's been a major dilution of queer culture in pop culture. Similar to Black culture and AAVE, queer culture and slang has fallen victim to being so far removed from the source. Phrases like clock the tea end up on our TikTok feed, and the general public categorizes it as youth speak removed from its origins and losing so much context and nuance along the way. I say this because to have a film born from queer writers, a queer director, a mostly queer cast and crew feels so much richer because of its proximity to the culture. Representation is not just a gold star sticker achievement. Representation makes for a richer and more authentic storytelling experience for anyone to consume. And I found the conflicts that they're threading throughout the film to be so engaging. Not only is there the macro conflict of the zombie apocalypse taking over New York City, but even within the community itself, you have this commentary on the intergenerational conflict in the queer community. You have commentary on the overconsumption of queer culture. There's a layered commentary about the need for joy in times when it feels like the world is falling apart. And even given the way that some of the characters in this film interact with the undead, there's opportunity to reflect on the legacy of the AIDS epidemic within the queer community. And it takes that level of inclusion and representation across the queer community to be able to comment on all of these different things in a cohesive way that feels authentic and grounded, while still leaving a lot of room for big laughs. For a very small budget production, I was so taken with the aesthetics and the cinematography of this film. First off, the visual element is such a delight. Again, the underlying thread throughout this entire film is joy and celebration. Even though this is a zombie apocalypse and there are some losses and they're very tender moments, I feel like one of the pillars for this movie was joy. The zombies in this film are utterly fabulous. They have this sickly green glittering skin, these sunken facial features, even some of their costumes kind of transform so that they include some blood and gore, but in a very glamorous way. They are as stylish as they are grotesque. The lighting is also so fun and dynamic. Because they are in the club, it lends itself to be able to be very colorful and like chaotic at times. But that doesn't mean that it's overly polished. It's definitely a little grimy. There are some rats in the mix. Like, it is definitely a club in New York City. But I think the thing that makes this movie instantly iconic is the makeup and the costume design. For a movie about drag and drag performers, I love just how much of the drag community and what it feels like to be a drag performer is integrated into this movie in very creative ways. It makes for some fun antics and some memorable scenes. I am sure that this movie is bound to inspire so many Halloween costumes. Like, I'm going to be so disappointed this year if I don't see a few glitter zombies like trick-or-treating around my street. With the themes of acceptance and identity, I love how this film is layered with lots of different symbolism, especially with its connection to the church and religion. We have an opening scene where a drag queen is going to confession after a night out, and that's where we get our first big kill. And utilizing the idea of joy as resistance and having some really fun like dance scenes in the mix of this zombie film, I feel were just like such a radical choice. As a fringe genre, there is already so much overlap between horror and queer media, so I love that this movie is wasting no opportunities to be unapologetically queer, bringing to light some of the modern day conflicts within the queer community, while also telling a greater story about acceptance, love, and identity. Overall, I found Queens of the Dead to be a wholly joyful experience. Not only is this a movie for certified horror movie lovers, it's also a movie for anybody who wants to champion queer stories. But even more so, it is a zombie movie for people who are maybe not too interested in deeply gory horror movies. This is the type of movie that I think anybody who seeks it out is going to absolutely love it. And on the Movie Mija meter, I give Queens of the Dead 4 out of 5 stars. And there you have it. That is my review of Queens of the Dead, the new film from Tina Romero. I am so excited to see even more from this filmmaker, and I'm just so excited that a movie like this exists, and I'm so delighted that it is as wonderful as it was. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way through to the end. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, where you can get one new movie review from me every single week. And if you want even more movie news, reviews, and personal insights from me, then you can follow me at Movie Mija on Letterboxd, TikTok, and Instagram. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!